Thank you very much. I'd just like to start my talk by thanking the organizers or the organization of this event, which is a great example in hospitality and organization. And so, before starting my talk, a very great thanks to the organizers. So, distinguished guests, honorable delegates. Today I will be giving an overview of different trends in port operations. But before that, I will give also a brief presentation of what Thales is and what Thales does in the world. So just to start, Thales at a glance. So Thales is a French international company with over 80,000 employees, with in 2021 over 16 billion euros in sales worldwide. Out of these 16 billion, we finance 1 billion euros of research and development going into our new digital technologies, so artificial intelligence, big data, cybersecurity, and IoT and connectivity. And we're present worldwide, so in over 70 countries, and we're very proud to say that we've been present in Pakistan for over 50 years now, and we've celebrated 50 years last year, and I'm here to say that we're very proud of that. So we're covering overall the large markets of digital identity and security, defense and security, aerospace, space, and ground transportation. And in all these critical sectors, our job is in the sensing and gathering of critical data, transmission and communication of this data, storing this data, and processing it for better decision-making in critical moments. So we're also a player in security and port operations, and here's a little glimpse of our flagship projects and some of our systems. So we've been instrumental in the Moani port in Qatar, where we've integrated all the security operation systems there, giving operators a bird's-eye view of everything that's happening in the port, from security operations to energy management. We're also present of the port of Marseille, where we've set up a collaborative platform powered by blockchain to secure the transaction and their veracity. And we're also present at the port of Antwerp, where we're deployed a cybersecurity solution to secure the transactions between some actors. And one of the platforms that we rely on for these systems is our advanced processing platform, which connects all the operational technology, IT technologies of these ports that can be in many different sites for operators to better detect, understand, decide, collaborate, and report about their operations, security, and energy management. And we're proud to have been awarded in 2021 a prize by Frost & Sullivan's for being the most innovative platform in the industry. So to come directly to the topic about port operations, I'd like to focus on 4 talking points today, and hopefully that'll give you an overview of some of the trends that are going on in the industry right now. And I think it will give a more bird's eye view and complementary view on the previous talk that was very interesting as well. So my first talking point will be about digitization and automation. Second one on energy efficiency. Third one on security. And finally, public-private cooperation. And we'll see that this last point actually provides some insight about how we can handle some of the issues we're having in maybe the first 3 trends. So first of all, about digitization and automation, we have to understand, of course, that ports, most of the ports are capitalistic ventures, and 80% of international trade goes through them. And that means that they're bound by imperatives of operational and financial performance, and automation and digitization obviously play a large role in that operational and financial optimization. So the first step we've seen in the course of the last century is the development of electronic data interchanges. That was the first step, and the installation of terminal operating systems for better cargo handling. That was a great first step, which was followed in the beginning of the 21st century and still now by large automation of cranes and different conveyors. But today we've entered a new stage in automation and digitization, because we're in the era of using new technologies such as artificial intelligence, IoT, and simulation, cloud as well, which radically enhance OT and IT performance. We're able to connect assets, to localize them and maintain them, which gives way to areas such as predictive maintenance. We're moving IT operations from on-premise solutions to cloud solutions, which makes it easier to use what we need in terms of infrastructure when we need it, which is a lot harder when we have on-premise solution. And one example I'd like to give is also simulation. And I think that's a great way to enhance port operation, is the development of digital twins. And there is a concrete example in the last few years in the port of Livorno in Italy. So of course it's a smaller port, and such projects start in smaller scales because they're maybe easier to implement. But they've developed a full-scale digital twin of the port. That means that with the help of LiDARs, with the help of cameras, they've made a real-time digital twin of the port, which means that an operator can actually work from home and see from home all the different cargo, what's in it, where it should go, in order to optimize space, for example. And that has been awarded actually in the European Union by being one of the most innovative projects in terms of digitization and also energy efficiencies. I'd like also to talk about some challenges, however, and some limitations that come when we talk about digitization and automation, is that obviously we're still in a learning curve and we're in a test and learn approach. There is a development of artificial intelligence, and there's a big buzz around it, but we're still struggling to find some real-time use cases for machine learning, even though we're really good at gathering data from the past and making decisions out of that. It's really hard. Unlike the aeronautics sector, unlike the transportation sector, it's a lot harder to use real-time data because of the different data sources that are available. We'll talk about it later, but also one of the key challenges out of digitization is cybersecurity. And also, one last point is maybe the investment, and I'd say that it's also up to the industry to provide the strong business cases to give proof of value. Second talking point I'd like to address is energy efficiency and environmental protection. So it's undeniable today that the extreme economic activities of ports brings about adverse effects to the environment during construction of the ports and during their operations. So we see a trend in reducing emissions and reducing the impact on the immediate environment of the ports. Main trend we've seen throughout the years is electrification, obviously, and the gradual elimination of diesel power equipment and what is related to them. An excellent example of that, of electrification, is cold ironing or shoreside power. For those who are not really familiar with that issue, is the fact that you're able to provide electricity and energy to a moored ship so it can turn off its engines while it's loading and offloading. And that's actually one of the most efficient ways to reduce energy emissions up to about 90% in some cases. Problem with that, with these solutions, it's that first of all, they're costly. You can count $10–20 million for the implementation of one. And also, since it's rather new, there is a real lack of international standards in terms of electricity provisioning and cabling as well. So this will have to be tackled. We can also talk about the use of alternative fuels such as LNG, hydrogen. Also, the ports have an estate of their own, and we're seeing gradual use of that estate for renewables such as offshore wind farms or solar power as well. And one last example I'd like to mention is investment on intermodal transport. This is a very long process and it requires investments in infrastructure, but reducing the use of trucks and rather use trains has significant reduction in emissions. The Port of Valencia, for example, has seen a 30% decrease in all of its emissions throughout the last 10 years because it's gradually moved from trucks to trains. We've seen it before, but also digitization is important as there is an undeniable link between automation, digitization, and port energy and efficiency. The problem with these trends is there's many ways to reduce emissions, but that's because they're actually driven by economic imperatives, especially at a time where energy prices are soaring. So what we need to do more efforts in is in actually the protection of the surroundings. And a great example of that is the port of Moani, Qatar, actually, which has dislocated and renewed thousands of square meters of algae, of corals in Doha. I'll move fastly to conclude, but another trend is trends in security. We've seen that the international understanding of security for ports and shipping is mainly traditional and based around physical and terrorism, but today this is not enough. We've talked about digitization. Today, one of the growing risks in security is handling cybersecurity. We have many more digital assets that are connected to operational technology assets, and we need dedicated security operations centers to manage both IT assets and OT assets. And we need to also train port operators to understand those risks. Just to give an example, the Port of Los Angeles has 15 cyber attacks per second. Last point is maybe the fact that we need to evolve our understanding on tackling organized crime and corruption around ports. And there is no international understanding and framework to tackle that. And lastly, maybe a trend that we need to focus on and that provides some insights and some ways to tackle the previous problems were mentioned is more public-private cooperation and collaboration. We need to make this collaboration between private actors, public actors, academia to make the regulation evolve. We've mentioned electrification, we've mentioned cybersecurity, we've mentioned organized crime. There needs to be an information community for better lawmaking. We need to develop data sharing and common platforms that will be a technical enabler for this regulation. And finally, we need to adopt open innovation strategies and make ports hubs for industry, public actors, and academia to share information together, innovate solutions, and come up with new strategies to tackle these problematics and better take the wave of innovation for port operations. And I think that Karachi provides actually a great platform for that. To conclude, we've seen that port operations and building what we call today a smart port is a very multifaceted topic. And there is no common definition or framework to assess this smartness. And maybe to open up the discussion, maybe we need in different ports to assess, to have KPIs and put in place KPIs that provide a quantitative and qualitative analysis of how smart our ports are getting and how we can evolve further. Thank you very much.